So we talked about out licensing. Let me just talk for a little bit about in licensing. So because most of the folks in the room are thinking more about starting their own companies or filing their own patents. And so from the perspective of someone who's outside the company who may hold a patent, do the firms use a similar process for figuring out the appropriate value for an in license as for an out license? Is it the same team? Is it still the same people sitting around the table, or is it sort of a whole different?
Yeah, so at Philips we have a separate group that does what we call the monetization engine, which is the out licensing part and the selling of patents and all that, the revenue generation machine, versus what we call counseling, which is going out to the business and saying, okay, here's the risk. So we do a risk assessment on each product that's launched at Philips and looking at third-party patents that are potentially problematic, and as well as the inbound opportunities that companies come with, patent trolls and others that say we've got a patent that infringes your product infringes our patent. So we have to do an analysis there on the risk as well as what kind of reaction we have, and it's a similar methodology, but yet it's one that you have to be very careful with, because you want to look at prior art because you want to see if that can be invalidated, the patent that's being asserted or litigated, and you want to look at the potential, and you do essentially what you do when you out license. You want to figure out what your risk is. So if you've got $1 billion business that's at risk from these patents, there's 3 patents being asserted, then you have to say, okay, well, this could potentially cost me hundreds of millions of dollars every year versus the amount of money that they're charging me for a license or to get out of the litigation as a settlement. And so it's that type of analysis, but we have completely different teams doing that.
I think for us, it depends on what's actually happening. So if it's a company coming to us and saying we have technology and we have some patents that are related to it, that's really going to go to the business folks to say, let's look at this technology, let's assess how it might fit into our product. Perhaps we're going to acquire the company and have those engineers come in and work for Google. We do that a lot. And it's technology based, and often there will be IP with it. And the patent lawyers are involved looking at that and assessing it, but really the driver of the deal is going to be the technology. And the patents are part of that, and it may, of course, increase the value if the patents are good and are closely related to the technology. So that's one type of deal. The other was mentioned that it's a troll or an MPE coming to you with a patent that it's just on the patent itself, and they're requesting either purchase or license. They're happy with either. Sometimes it's just money, and that will come straight to our team in patents. We're assessing that because there's no technology coming along with it. So then it's the same analysis of what is the risk here, and trying to place a dollar amount on it. Well, first, of course, do you infringe? Is there a colorable argument there, or is it just totally invalid? There's often different sides of the same coin with some of these patents. But for us, it will just depend on what it is and how it's coming in. That will funnel it to the right folks for review.